in this off-year election. As the stakes ramp up, a familiar push to lower the voting age is back in the spotlight. One columnist backing that push from squad member Ayanna Pressley, claiming in a new ad, quote, "She's right. 16-year-olds should be able to vote." Our next guest sees a serious problem with that. Here to explain is Campus Reform's editor-in-chief, Cabot Phillips. Cabot, good morning to you.
Good morning.
If you have 16-year-olds vote in federal elections and state elections and local elections, what possibly could go wrong?
This is not about equal rights, as many on the left are trying to say. We're just getting more people involved in the political process. That's not what this is. This is a political ploy. The left sees an opportunity to add 1 million, 2 million new voters to their party, and they're trying to capitalize on it. We know, as we've seen at Leadership Institute's Campus Reform, that the education in America is oftentimes biased, not just on college campuses. Many times it does start all the way in high schools. And so when you have a large part of Americans that are getting a biased perception of what's going on in the political process, a lot of these 16 and 17-year-old kids have only heard one side at this point in their lives. They feel that social pressure on social media from their peers, from teachers. They would likely be voting for Democrats at this point in their life, and that's what the Democrat Party is trying to capitalize on. This is a political ploy and nothing else.
So you're saying this is just something to get votes because 16-year-olds predominantly vote to the political left. But when you look at a 16-year-old, and you know how this works, at 16, you know, they don't really pay taxes. They don't do anything about their own health care. They don't take out loans. It's not until the age of 18 and older when those kind of things kick in.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point of voting, is that you have a skin in the game. And so when you are voting on things that are going to impact Americans and their decisions and their day-to-day lives, the whole point of voting is that we all collectively, it's going to impact us. We all have a skin in the game. When you're 16 years old, you just aren't there yet. You're not making financial decisions for yourself. You're not making healthcare decisions, taking out loans, things like you said. And also, I think it's important to point out that we should be encouraging 16-year-olds to get involved. No one is saying that we don't want young Americans paying attention, but voting and being involved in the process are very different things.
You want them to figure out how it all works for the day when they actually do get to vote. Here's an excerpt from this Newsweek op-ed. Even though 16 is the age when many teens can realize the rights and responsibilities of adulthood, such as driving and jobs, we say somehow they lack the maturity and experience to make informed choices at the ballot box. In fact, the evidence suggests just the opposite, that enfranchising 16-year-olds would be good for them and good for our democracy. Well, what do you think about that argument?
Well, the left can't make up their mind on if 16-year-olds and 18-year-olds are mature or not, because just last year when the firearm discussion was going on, they said we're going to raise the age to buy a rifle from 18 to 21 because 18-year-olds, they're just not mature enough to do something like buy a firearm, which carries so much societal weight. Voting, I think, arguably carries far more weight for society than simply purchasing a firearm. And when it comes to that, they say, well, actually, 18 is mature and even 16 is mature enough. And so they're kind of moving the goalpost when it comes to where the age of maturity is. And again, I think that shows just how political this all is and how it's not about equal rights, even though they're going to try to bully people into supporting it and say, if you don't support this, you don't care about equal rights, you don't care about our democracy. And that's just a ridiculous dichotomy they're putting out there.
So you say it's just to win elections, and today is Election Day. Cabot Phillips, thank you very much for joining us today from D.C.
Appreciate it.
All right. What do you folks out in TV land think about that, lowering the voting age to 16?